Aryna Sabalenka was spotted training at the luxurious Atlantis the Royal in Dubai. Just a few days later, she shockingly withdrew from her upcoming matches. She pulled out of the premier tournaments in both Doha and Dubai, claiming she had a right hip injury. That single sequence of events immediately lit a massive fuse. Tournament director Salah Tahalak transformed this situation into a very public demand to heavily penalize the top-ranked player. He wanted to strip away her hard-earned ranking points. Right in the middle of this chaotic fallout, an absolutely wild rumor began to circulate. Whispers claimed that Alexandra Eala was offered a $1.66 billion contract. This astronomical claim exploded across social media platforms like Facebook and TikTok before any fact-checker could even verify it. However, the real story here is completely different. This narrative is not actually about jealousy at all. Instead, it highlights two elite athletes who are existing in two entirely different financial realities. Furthermore, the modern information ecosystem worked over time to blur the lines of truth. Let us begin by examining exactly where both of these players truly stand. As of the 23rd of February, 2026, Aryna Sabalenka firmly holds the rank of world number one. She has already amassed $1,066,482 in prize money this year alone. Amazingly, she achieved this massive financial milestone after playing in merely 2 tournaments. Her season kicked off with a triumphant victory at the Brisbane International. In that final match, she defeated Marta Kostyuk and took home $214,530. Then, the tour moved on to the high stakes in Melbourne. Elena Rybakina completely dismantled Sabalenka during the Australian Open final, erasing a commanding 30-0 lead in the deciding set. Despite the devastating loss, Sabalenka still walked away rich. She collected $1,391,952 as the runner-up. However, she simultaneously walked right into a massive media storm. Tennis legend Pat Cash openly called her performance a total capitulation. Commentator Annabelle Croft took it even further, labeling the behavior of the world number one as incredibly immature. The top-ranked player on the planet was facing harsh criticism from absolutely every conceivable direction. Meanwhile, Alexandra Eala entered the year 2026 from a vastly different starting point. At the dawn of the season, she was hovering somewhere between the low 30s and high 40s in the global rankings. Her career was promising but still developing. Her total career prize money had only just crossed the $1.66 million mark. To put that into perspective, that is less than what Sabalenka earned in the month of January alone. However, those raw financial numbers do not tell the whole story. They completely fail to capture the incredible momentum that is currently building around Eala and her personal brand. The fans were thrown into a frenzy after Sabalenka confidently stated she expected no special star treatment at the upcoming Grand Slams. The drama was only just beginning to unfold. Sports analysts immediately began debating whether the top player was truly being snubbed by major athletic brands. This exact tension is where the narrative becomes incredibly fascinating. On the 10th of February, 2026, countless posts suddenly began flooding Facebook and TikTok. They all pushed one sensational claim involving an Abu Dhabi billionaire. The rumor insisted that Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan had offered Eala a staggering $1.6 billion contract. It alleged she would receive $1 billion up front. The fabricated deal also promised her $600 million annually over a span of 10 years. The supposed goal was to crown her the face of a brand new United Arab Emirates tennis championship. To truly grasp how utterly absurd that figure really is, you only need to look at one solid reference point. The most expensive verified sports contract in history belongs to baseball star Juan Soto. That monumental baseball deal totals a whopping $700 million. Meanwhile, the Sheikh Mansour rumor was describing a financial package that was easily 10 times larger. Dedicated fact-checkers quickly stepped in and discovered that the viral graphics were merely composite edits. They completely confirmed that the entire story was pure fiction, fabricated from the ground up. Unbelievably, that was not the end of the internet madness. Running perfectly alongside the billionaire story was an entirely separate rumor involving Wilson Sporting Goods. This secondary piece of gossip claimed the tennis brand had offered Eala a lucrative $45 million endorsement deal. It even featured a fake quote supposedly spoken by the young athlete herself. The fabricated quote claimed she was going to use all that money to help other people. However, the glaring problem is that Eala has been a loyal, long-term Babolat athlete for years. She has fiercely championed that brand and exclusively wields the Pure Aero 2023 racket. In reality, she has absolutely zero affiliation with the Wilson Company whatsoever. Furthermore, that heartwarming quote they used was completely stolen. It was lifted directly out of an entirely unrelated article about a professional golfer and dropped straight into this fake narrative. Eala herself made it abundantly clear that she was deeply troubled by how rapidly this misinformation was spreading throughout her passionate fan base. Now, here is the crucial correction that this entire story desperately needs. There is absolutely no verified record of Aryna Sabalenka ever making a single derogatory or comparative remark regarding the finances of Alexandra Eala. Whether real or fabricated, the entire narrative is a complete sham. The aggressive framing that has been driving all these internet clicks is nothing more than a massive misattribution. What Sabalenka actually triggered was a wave of anger over her sudden tournament withdrawals. Salah Tahalak, the highly vocal director of the Dubai tournament, simply refused to stay quiet about her absence. He had just overseen a massive 2,000-seat expansion of the Court 1 infrastructure. That expensive infrastructure was built specifically to handle the roaring crowds that always show up to watch elite players like Sabalenka compete. When she unexpectedly withdrew, the disappointment was palpable. The frustration boiled over, especially after she was photographed casually training at the luxurious Atlantis, the Royal Resort. Outraged by the optics, Tahalak immediately took his grievances straight to the press. He openly questioned whether the reported injury was even legitimate, boldly pointing out that the medical doctor of the tournament had merely described the issue as minor. Then, he aggressively pushed for an even harsher punishment. He demanded that both Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek be docked actual ranking points rather than simply being handed a standard financial fine. The dramatic tension only continued to escalate from there. Sabalenka has dominated the headlines multiple times this season alone, first for furiously smashing her racket following a tough loss. That intense moment unfolded after her brutal Australian Open defeat to Madison Keys. Then, of course, the fierce debate raged on regarding whether financial fines are actually a deterrent for star players who are already earning millions of dollars. The sporting world was deeply divided on the complex issue. Coco Gauff immediately pushed back against the widespread criticism, fiercely defending a fundamental right for players to withdraw for health reasons. She correctly noted that athletes already lose out on potential points when they pull out of an event. Despite the strong defense from fellow players, the rigid position of the tournament director remained crystal clear. High-profile tennis tournaments are currently spending money at absolutely record-breaking levels. When the biggest stars fail to show up on the court, that massive financial investment loses its value incredibly fast. And this exact tension is exactly where the entire landscape of the sport dramatically shifted. The underlying truth is that the prize money environment in the year 2026 is not actually growing. Instead, the financial pools across the professional tour are noticeably tightening. The prestigious Indian Wells Masters, the iconic event that players have long revered as the fifth Grand Slam, actually cut its total prize pool by 2.87% this year. The overall prize money dropped from $19,387,080 in 2025 to $18,831,450. The reductions were heavily felt across the board. Even the grand prize for the singles champion of the men dropped by 4.14%. falling from $1,261,125 to $1,151,380. At the exact same time, professional players are aggressively pushing for significantly larger revenue shares across the sport. Those two opposing financial forces are currently set on a brutal, inevitable collision course. For a top-tier athlete like Sabalenka, this shrinking financial reality is not just an abstract concept. She reached the thrilling Indian Wells final in 2025 and earned $599,625 for that spectacular run. Achieving the exact same glorious result in 2026 now produces a noticeably lower inflation-adjusted return. Her real frustration is rooted entirely in how tournament management coldly treats her personal health decisions. That relentlessly shrinking prize money acts as a constant pressure cooker that compounds absolutely everything else on the professional tour. And here is the vital truth that the viral internet chaos buried completely. In the year 2025, Aryna Sabalenka earned approximately $30 million across her tournament prize money and her legitimate, high-profile brand endorsements. That massive financial haul officially made her the second highest-paid female athlete in the entire world, sitting directly behind only Coco Gauff. Let the sheer magnitude of that undeniable fact sink in for a second. The superstar player who is being falsely framed as exploding over the supposed billions of Alexandra Eala is already a $30 million a year powerhouse. She has already achieved immense global wealth. Sabalenka has easily surpassed every single financial milestone that those fake internet rumors were desperately pretending to describe. The entire jealousy narrative is not just incredibly misleading and foolish. It is mathematically impossible for her to be jealous of a completely fabricated contract. What Sabalenka actually directed her genuine frustration toward was the string of very public accusations made by the tournament director. She was also furious at the apparent inability of the governing body to protect its players from powerful executives who constantly use the press as a weapon. The messy situation revealed deep institutional flaws. If you completely strip away the fake rumors and the manufactured rivalry framing, the absolute truth becomes glaringly obvious. What you actually have is a high-stakes labor dispute dressed up to look like something deeply personal. However, absolutely none of this controversy takes anything away from the incredible foundation that Alexandra Eala has actually built for herself. The amazing career and the powerful brand she is building are entirely real. Her genuine success has absolutely nothing to do with any fake billion-dollar contracts or wild internet hoaxes. She is boldly forging her own path to greatness through sheer talent and incredibly hard work. Eala impressively reached a career-high global ranking of number 31 on the 23rd of February. She accomplished this remarkable feat right on the back of a deeply inspiring run in Dubai. That phenomenal Middle Eastern tournament run included one of the absolutely most significant match results of her entire professional career. On the 17th of February, she boldly stepped onto the court and upset Jasmine Paolini. Taking down the world number 8 instantly solidified her status as a fiercely rising star in the global tennis community. That stunning victory officially made her the youngest Asian player ever to record multiple top 10 wins on the professional tour. However, the harsh reality of elite competition quickly set in during her grueling quarterfinal match against the reigning superstar Coco Gauff. She suffered a brutal 0-6, 2-6 defeat, and she fiercely refused to sugarcoat the painful loss afterward. Speaking with remarkable maturity, she openly admitted that the massive skill gap between herself and the elite top 5 players was incredibly prominent. The cold, hard statistics from that match heavily backed up her incredibly honest assessment. Her critical first serve percentage against a powerhouse like Gauff hovered at an incredibly vulnerable 57%. She managed to win just 30% of those crucial points during the high-stakes matchup. The technical distance to the very pinnacle of the sport remains a deeply real and daunting mountain to climb. But here is the one massive number that perfectly explains why those billion-dollar rumors magnetically attach themselves to her name in the very first place. As of February 2026, Alexandra Eala boasts well over 920,000 highly dedicated Instagram followers. More importantly, she maintains a staggering social media engagement rate that hovers right between 15 to 20%. That explosive level of fan interaction is easily triple the professional tour average, even when heavily compared to top-tier elite players. In the sprawling city of Dubai, where roughly 10% of the local population is Filipino, her presence was absolutely electric. For those deeply passionate fans, her scheduled matchups were never just standard tennis matches to quietly observe. Tournament directors were utterly amazed, repeatedly describing the deafening stadium atmosphere as feeling exactly like a raucous home game. The massive stadiums were absolutely packed to the brim, with dedicated fans loudly cheering and praying for every single point she played. The undeniable reality was that she was single-handedly drawing significantly larger and louder crowds than her peers. She was also generating substantially more explosive social media engagement than multiple top 10 players, and that absolutely included Aryna Sabalenka herself. Furthermore, her actual verified sponsor list perfectly reflects that immense and rapidly growing international reach. She proudly represents massive corporate titans like Nike, Babolat, Globe Telecom, the Bank of the Philippine Islands, and Milo. These are incredibly solid, highly lucrative brand partnerships, not some fictional billion-dollar desert mirage. What she actually possesses is a deeply real, fiercely growing, and regionally dominant commercial presence that just keeps compounding day after day. As the season relentlessly pushes forward, both of these remarkable players are now intensely heading right into the North American hardcourt swing. They are currently bracing themselves for the notoriously grueling Sunshine Double, which consists of the elite Indian Wells and Miami tournaments. The stakes are monumental, as Sabalenka is desperately fighting to defend her prestigious Miami Open Championship title. She is stepping onto the court with a massive $1.1 million winning check directly on the line. This intense financial pressure is significantly amplified in a turbulent season where overall prize pools are already being aggressively trimmed. If the crucial month of March goes completely wrong for her, her iron grip on the world #1 ranking becomes deeply vulnerable. Fierce rivals like Elena Rybakina and Iga Swiatek are eagerly waiting to relentlessly tear that crown away from her. Losing that top spot would carry extremely direct and devastating consequences for exactly how her global endorsement valuations look heading straight into 2027. Meanwhile, for the young phenom Eala, the immediate goal is fiercely laser-focused. She desperately wants to use that hard-earned number 31 ranking to firmly secure a highly coveted seeded position at both Indian Wells and Miami. Earning a designated seed is absolutely vital because it means entirely avoiding the biggest titans of the sport. She needs to dodge absolute juggernauts like Sabalenka, Gauff, or Rybakina during the chaotic and unpredictable opening rounds. That strategic advantage would eagerly provide a much cleaner path to making the deep, lucrative tournament runs that would finally start to close the on-court earnings gap. Her savvy management team will almost certainly weaponize that stunning upset win over Paolini to aggressively push for even more domestic Philippine endorsements. They are fiercely determined to build upon the $129,332 in early season on-court earnings. Those early financial figures, meticulously reported by dedicated financial trackers, prove she is already carving out a truly lucrative athletic career. So, the ultimate burning question that absolutely no viral hoax or angry tournament director dispute has come remotely close to answering is simply this: can the fiercely talented Alexandra Eala successfully take her 920,000 highly engaged social media followers and miraculously translate them into legendary tournament victories? The entire tennis world is anxiously waiting to see if she can turn digital fame into real-world dominance. Can she somehow harness that unprecedented triple average engagement rate and fiercely translate all of that hype right into Grand Slam quarterfinals and semifinals? The pressure on her young shoulders to perform at the highest possible level is absolutely astronomical. Or will the massive, incredibly lucrative icon economy she has so brilliantly built permanently outrun her actual physical ability to compete? Everyone is wondering if she can truly go toe-to-toe with absolute legends like Sabalenka, Goff, Rybakina, and Swiatek when the lights shine the brightest. The sporting world demands to know if she can genuinely deliver championship results when the absolute highest stakes are truly on the line. Because, at the end of the day, that undeniable skill gap, the exact same one she bravely admitted was prominent, is the absolute heart of the matter. That glaring, undeniable difference in on-court performance is truly the only controversy in this entirely chaotic story that is actually grounded in reality. The rest is just absolute noise. And the tennis world is finally ready to watch the real drama fiercely unfold on the hard courts.